Good morning, and thank you all for being here. UAB is coming off a 35-6 win over North Carolina A&T to open the season and travels to Georgia Southern this week for a Week 2 contest. So with that, I'll kick it over to Coach for an opening statement, followed by questions.
Thanks, Ted. I'm excited to go 1-0. We flushed that one, made a lot of corrections, and looking at a really challenging opponent in Georgia Southern with some challenges naturally going on the road for the first time as a group. But excited about the challenge.
Questions?
I'm not a big opening statement guy.
With your defense last week, you spoke afterwards that their heads were down a little bit afterwards. And when you study the film, it seemed to be a lot of missed tackles and maybe some run fits and different things. What was your kind of view of the way they played after you studied the film compared to right after the game?
First of all, I thought they played really hard. What showed up more than anything else was effort, running to the football, the core values of our defense, which was encouraging. Missed tackles were little things, head in the wrong place, bad eye work, not executing things we do in practice on a daily basis. Got better towards the end of the game. Everything got better towards the end of the game. I thought the corrections made by Sione and his staff were really good, and the players obviously embracing those changes, those mid-game adjustments, I'd call them. And then I think, that winning the line of scrimmage battle after the first two series. The first two series, I'd say they got knocked back a little bit and then ended up knocking back the offensive front after that.
And Trent, a couple guys, especially on defense, like Keandre Swoops, did not dress out last Thursday. Can UAB fans expect to see Swoops?
Yeah, he'll practice this week, so we'll see how it goes, but he'll practice. He did a light workout yesterday, and he'll practice tomorrow, so we'll know more by the end of the week.
You go from playing a team that passed the ball, a very minimum number of times to a team that's, going to throw it around like y'all did last week. Just how do you prepare for that, as well as, they have to also face that same thing with playing a Citadel team that ran an option, so they have to also prepare for such a thing.
Yeah, I think Georgia Southern, Ellis has evolved over his time as offensive coordinator. Clay's always liked balance. I think they're striving for more balance. They looked more physical in the run game offensively than they did last year. Tight ends playing at a high level, offensive lines playing at a high level. The runner's a really good runner. So I actually think we're going to face a balance attack from them. Yes, their roots, both Ellis's and Clay's, are in throwing the football, but you can sense a different mentality just by their formations. What they're trying to do schematically tells me they want to have better balance. The Citadel defensively, it was an interesting plan because they're playing a kind of a hybrid option team. So I think you can take some things from the defensive film, but not everything. And I think that's one of the challenges. When you don't know your opponent well, when you haven't seen a lot of stuff, evidence of what they do. There's some guesswork there. So that's one of our challenges as staff. That's what we're doing right now, is trying to better understand who they are.
Coach, as far as a road game, your first road game here at UAB, but you've done road games in the NFL, you've done it at the high school level. Can you kind of walk through, is it a normal, how every college does it, or are you doing stuff differently? Tell me about this week.
It's routine. I think everybody has their own way of doing it. This is a hybrid between Cole and I. Cole's done it different ways between his two stops, and I've done it my way in the NFL and high school, and it's kind of a hybrid. I like the kids having a pretty routine 48 hours before the game. You don't want a lot of adjustments there and a lot of changes. So what we did last week at home, we'll replicate the best we can on the road. With meetings and walkthroughs and all the things that go on. So, I've always taken the approach on the road that, there's no reason to complain about it. Like, it's part of football. It's part of sports, right? You go play teams at their places and you try to have a set routine so there's no you don't add more chaos than's already there. I guess the easiest way to say it. Did you want more specific than that?
No. I was just wondering if you were doing stuff outside the box.
Nah, not really. It's you want to land. I think if anything, we probably get to the host city more NFL-like-ish late. I know there's college teams that travel early, try to get in the host city and spend the time there. I'd rather spend our time here. So we'll get in there late. Basically dinner, meetings, chapel, go to bed, wake up, have the same routine in the morning that we would have if we were at home, and that way the familiarity's similar to them.
And just one more for me. Your quarterback, it's got to be nice going out with number 4 on your side. And we were talking about after the game, and he kind of mentioned he feels like he's 10 times better than he was. How do you get that out of a guy that has the body, has the tools? He played at a big program before. How do you get that out of a guy like that?
Well, I think credit goes to him. I think too often these quarterback gurus or coaches, want to take credit for this. I think where we can take credit is identifying they had the right stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that's the important thing is you got to identify a guy that has the makeup, that if he puts in the time, if he makes the effort, is going to be a really good player. And we definitely did that with Jacob. We identified that through a series of challenges, I guess we put him through in the offseason. He revealed that he had the right stuff, and then really he's gone to work. We have every building has a wealth of information, right? Every building has probably somebody on their staff that does quarterbacks pretty well. The kid has to be willing to pull that out of whoever is that information person. Now we have a lot of those people, and Jacob's done a really good job of making sure that we empty the bucket of information on him, provide the opportunity for him to grow as rapidly as he needs to grow. So, I'd say Nick Moore are the primary figures in that, and do a great job of constantly mentoring him, pushing him, challenging him, giving him answers to the test. But it's really his ability to take it all in and to make changes that's impressive. And I think he's going to continue to. My messaging to him was, nice start, I'm proud of you, but you have no idea how much better you can get. There's countless things that he can get better at, and he will.
Kind of along that subject too, there's just kind of a two-part thing, but one is sort of lost in the shuffle a little bit are the receivers. You were 38 of 41. Well, if they're not catching the ball, you're not 38 of 41. And then the other thing is, a lot of people have said with the offense, a lot of what he did was just a little short pass, a little quick passes. But how difficult is that to make the right decisions quick in that time? Is it more difficult than sometimes we give it credit?
Well, I think they're right. Most of it was what you'd call the completion passing game, the short passing game. I would argue that the GOAT has spent 85% of his life in that passing game, and we don't criticize that. Joe Montana, Steve Young in the Hall of Fame, both did that. Drew Brees did that. So I can go down a laundry list of some of the greatest players that ever played the position that did exactly what Jacob did the other night. They operate. It's a more surgical approach to the passing game. The analogy I give all the time is, a machete and a scalpel are two weapons, right? They're both sharp instruments. One, a butcher makes you a pastrami sandwich, right? One, the scalpel, a doctor saves your life. It's much more surgical. That's the way we expect our quarterbacks to play. It doesn't mean we're not going to throw it down the field. It doesn't mean we're not going to have a vertical component to our game. But there's a twitchiness of mind that it takes to play this type of football. You do have to read things quicker. You have to be way more precise with the football than a ball that carries for 30 yards. The receiver can adjust to it while it's in there. A lot of those passes are not highly accurate. The receiver makes them accurate. These are, these throw catch right now plays, I would argue are harder to execute, especially versus tighter coverage. So we believe it's the right way to play. It's been a proven method forever, and we'll continue to do it. And we'll continue to take opportunities down the field too when teams want to play that too tight.
And also what helps Zeno's performance too is the offensive line. Can you talk a little bit about Brandon Moran stepping in for Luke Jones and just assess the offensive line's performance as a whole?
Yeah, they've gotten so much better. I know it was the topic of conversation over the offseason, rightfully so. Inexperienced, new guys, none of them played together. All those are true things. They've kind of taken that as a challenge and worked really hard to come together. I thought Brendan played really well, especially in the run game. You know, we had some serious knockback in the run game, especially on our double teams, and he was at the point of a lot of them. I think his ability to play left and right is important for us. Luke, like Swoops, will practice this week, so we'll see what his status is as the week goes on. But no, they played well, and you know, to me, the passing game in general. I mean, it's all offense, but the passing game is this synergy between quarterback, offensive line, pass catchers, right? And you can put running backs, tight ends. Like on our touchdown pass to TJ, the best block on the field was Dallas Clark, a tight end. So, you know, it's that synergistic relationship between all the pieces of the puzzle working together. And I thought, for the most part, that happened at a high level Thursday night. So, but again, I try not to be too specific with this stuff because I've seen games where the quarterback plays at a really high level mentally, but physically can't do anything because offensive line breaks down, or offensive line quarterback playing well, receivers aren't catching the ball. What do we have, 13 guys touch the ball? You know, so again, it takes everybody. If there's a message I have for football, is it takes everybody, and I think our guys are starting to understand that. The success of our offense and defense and special teams, because the schemes we run will be the togetherness of all the parts.
I want to ask about playing on a Thursday instead of a Saturday. What did you guys do this weekend? Did you watch games? I saw an article, or someone said Andy Reid took a play from a janitor. It just came out. Like, are you picking other things that people do? I'm sure you're always evolving in football.
Yeah, you're always trying to get better. You're always trying to look for an edge. You're always trying to find something. I think there's a danger in that. You know, you get away from what you do best or something you need to get better at. There's a balance of, okay, what creativity can we add and what existing do we already have that we need to get better at. So, but yeah, we watched a lot of football. I got time with our families. I gave the coaches 49 hours off, which was, I think they really appreciated. 49, yeah. So there's no intent to that. This is what it ended up being. So, yeah, I think it was a good getaway. A lot of us were texting back and forth because we're football junkies about what we were watching. Some guys had to move into apartments. Some guys got time with their kids. You know, it's a big staff, so a lot of different things. Kids got away a little bit. It was nice to get everybody back yesterday. We had winter dinner last night, which is a big deal in the building, and got a little run around, and it was good to bring everybody back together and start working on our next opponent.
Just talk about Damian Miller and his development. Obviously, he started out the season, you know, within the safeties. He's worked with linebackers. He's now a top, you know, linebacker depth chart, you know, whatever that means. But, you know, just talk about how his presence will affect this defense.
Well, I think it's been really valuable for us. You know, he's a hybrid athlete in general, which is a good thing. You know, you want versatile athletes. I think Belichick really is the one that kind of made that famous, and it was so true. It changed football when all of a sudden you could have versatile athletes playing multiple positions. So Damian's ability to play big, he can play fast, he can play little, he can adjust, gives us a lot of versatility formationally, personnel-wise. He's still growing into the role. Obviously, he'd be the first to tell you that. But we've also allowed him the freedom to make some mistakes. You know, we told him when he made the change that we understand there's going to be some growing pains here, and we're willing to go through those growing pains with you because we think you can be a dynamic player at that position. So it's also just his veteran leadership. He's an older guy, he's a mature guy, plays with a nice edge to him. There's a lot of advantages of having him in the middle of the defense. It also allows some of our younger guys to play in the nickel, dime packages. So it was a key piece in the move defensively. If you notice, you know, you guys have been to practices enough. We started practicing a much higher level defensively. around the time he made that move. And I'm not saying that's just the move, but it was a chess piece we had to make to allow the defense to come together. And it was brilliant by Sione and his staff, and it's really helped us grow. It's helped Roos out a lot too, because it's taken a little bit of the burden off. That kid's going to be a special player. But as an 18-year-old to go in there and play 53 snaps is probably not realistic. So to be able to sub him in and get him playing time with a veteran leader at the same position has been really valuable for us.
Well, you talked before about the Elite 11 with Jacob Zeno and going to that. Kind of, what do you remember about him from those days? And was he part of the National Elite 11?
Yeah. I remember his charisma. I thought he was really a versatile athlete. Again, I'll use that term. He wasn't a runner, but he was a passer that could really run. You could see that he was going to grow into a thicker, jointed kid. Carry 210, 220 pounds rather easily. I remember thinking he had some Aaron Rodgers type body comps, not the player, but like body comps. Really smart. I definitely remember that. He was one of the smarter kids we had. He really embraced the learning process. I really was high on him. I don't remember what I had him ranked and all that stuff, but I know I was really high on him, and I was living in Texas at the time, so I was excited to see him go to Baylor because my daughter was at TCU. We were in Austin. We had really good friends at Baylor, so I was going to be able to see him play a little bit. And I feel really fortunate we have him here now.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.